Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grace of a Military Child in Life podcast. Military families are not like your traditional family. They are strong, brave, resilient, and some of the most incredible people I know. My name is Gracie, a U.S. Army brat, and I am your host. I am honored to be able to give military family members like myself a place for them to share their stories and experiences in the military life. Stay tuned for this week's guest.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Grace of a Military Child in Life. Today, I'm here with Kristy, who is an Army spouse. So, Kristy, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you kind of give everyone an idea of what it's like being an Army spouse for you?
Oh, there's so many layers attached to that question. Well, not growing up having anything to do with the military, it was kind of a shock, to be honest, in the beginning.
Yeah.
We went from growing up in New Hampshire to getting stationed as far as we possibly can in Washington State for our first duty station. So that was a pretty big shock. 20-ish years later, we are still at it. And I think there's so many great challenges that kind of push you outside of the box and let you see that you really are a pretty amazing person to live this lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the challenges of trying to be mom, dad, plumber, taxi driver, chef, vet, partner, you name it, all the things. And I think it's just an kind of a roller coaster of emotion depending on what season of life and how old your children are. I think that's huge. Huge, at least in this house, that was huge. So yeah, I take the good, the bad, and the ugly and try to find all the positive sides of them.
Yeah, I think that is so true. You know, especially going through different stages of life. Like you mentioned, your kids' ages, like it's different how you navigate it with an infant or a toddler than it is with a teenager who has emotions and doesn't like moving or doesn't like leaving their friends or, you know, whatever the case may be, or is excited, you know, to go on the new adventures. So you really get both ends with this lifestyle. And then it all kind of falls on you to do everything, you know, while your spouse is away.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and the way my kids are, there's those age gaps built in there. And so each of them experiencing things at a different, you know, time and deployments and teenagerness, all the things happening. So yeah, it's definitely a way. It's a way, right? It's definitely a way.
Yeah. And you have to, you know, it's not something where you can kind of go through it and then you're like, oh, I don't want to do this today. We're going to turn this off and move on. Like you have to keep going. There is no off switch. There's no, you know, necessarily break. You have to really kind of create and force your own break. And then you just have to get right back into it because it doesn't stop, even if you stop.
You're so right. And I think that learning those breaks as, you know, time goes on, like you have to, I don't know, what's that saying? Like your body's going to make you rest if you give yourself the time to rest, whatever that saying is. I think you have to learn how to take a break and how to kind of prioritize what's most important as you're navigating this crazy lifestyle of comings and goings and transitions and deployments and all the things that happen that rely on our shoulders.
Right.
That you can't not do it. You have to do it. You have to figure out the best way and how to be the best person that you can at that time, supporting this greater mission. Right. So,
yeah. And like you said, your body is going to tell you, like you will wind up sick at the worst time. Murphy's Law will hit. And that's when you really have to start to rely on the community around you, those people. Even if your spouse is home, you know, your husband is not on a deployment and he's there, you have to be like, all right, I need you to take over all of this because I need a break. And then you have your neighbors and, you know, all of the friends and community that surround you. And everyone is always pretty much the same. I've realized we're here to help if you need it. We are here to help when you need it. But nobody takes the help because it's always that awkward feeling of actually taking the help and saying that you need help, but you have to do it sometimes.
Yeah, I think asking for help is one of the hardest things for a military spouse to do. We just feel like we should be able to do it all, and this is the normal, but this really isn't normal, right? Our lifestyle is normal. So to learning to not only ask for the help, but then to accept it, like we would always offer it to whoever. But we're really bad at sometimes asking for it. And that's one thing that with my social group and my peers and people that I work with, like it's really an encouraging thing that we say, like, you really have to ask for help. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend, right?
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to ask for help, and it's hard to say you need help, and it's hard to go through all of that and go through it knowing that you're kind of alone in most, situations because you don't necessarily have extended family to rely on.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have our parents in our backyard many times.
Yeah.
As much as we wish we did. I mean, there are many a time where I was like, oh, if I just could, leave the kids asleep and run some errands or whatever. But we have to learn to rely on others. And it's such a learned skill. And I hope that we have taught our children, or at least I have taught my children, that, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to sit and be.
Yeah, I think it's so true. And there's so many things that you go through military life learning, especially not, if you didn't grow up in the military life, and it's that culture shock of, okay, welcome, like you said, moving across the country, as far as you could go from home, not having experienced anything of it. And now it's like, okay, well, time to speed learn this and figure out how this works.
Yeah. Not only speed learn the lifestyle, but speed learn the lingo, right?
Yes.
Like figuring out what people are saying in a whole different world that most people don't live in. So, and then throw in, a deployment is happening. And now you're going to figure out what all that language means, and then how to adjust, and then how to do everything else at the same time. So I do say that, we definitely are a mixed bag of tools. And I think we're pretty cool people. I think we can get
Yeah, because it's such a diverse community of people. And, we're all kind of going through this in one way or another as a child, as a spouse, or as a service member, trying to, like you said earlier, we're doing this for the greater good. Like there is a mission that we are doing this for. But you have to go through it and figure it out at the same time. And we're all doing that. And we're all still, figuring this out as we go. And we find new things and new resources and new ways to do it. And it just gets spread all around the place. And that's the best thing is just seeing how everyone navigates it on their own and then coming together and sharing everything.
Yeah. I love when just the small bits of information or a way that someone else deals with it is sometimes it's just so obvious and you're like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? But you're just so busy going that you don't, you just forget. Like it could be a lot simpler if we just slow down a little bit.
But it's so hard to slow down when you're living such a fast-paced lifestyle.
So hard. So yeah, I think that for me, being a military spouse, that's been one of my hardest things to learn is it's okay to let the laundry slide or eat Chick-fil-A or whatever it may be. Like you can't do everything, even though you think you can. And you don't have to, right? You can pick and choose and do what's most important that day. And over the years, that has definitely been something that I have kind of brought into my expectations, I guess. Like I have lowered the expectations. Like it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. It's okay to release some of that control and give yourself a break. and just enjoy a movie night or enjoy hanging out at the park and, picking the flowers or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. One thing that I've been like preaching to myself a lot going through this is like, you will make a ton of memories through this, but you have to be so intentional with doing that because you're never going to get the time back. You won't get that time with your family back or with your kids at a certain age or anything. And so sometimes it's so easy to just keep going through like, oh, checking the box, checking the box, checking the box, checking the box. And you have this routine and this chaotic lifestyle or whatever it may be that's going on. And sometimes you just have to stop and take a break and be like, okay, like you said, let's have a movie late night. Let's go to Chick-fil-A. Let's, create these memories that, yes, we're, in the middle of a deployment right now and it is hard, but let's stop. Let's have fun for a minute because those are the best memories that you'll create, those little impromptu things that you do. And you're not going to get that back. Like you have to take those opportunities when you have them.
Yeah, I love that. I love just the idea of being more mindful. I think we see it and we read the quotes and we hear it all the time, but until you actually do it, you don't really know what that feels like.
Right.
And you could impact so many people with just reminding everyone to take those impromptu moments, and you don't have to rush to the next thing.
Right.
It's going to be there. It's going to be there. The to-do list is going to be there. But those people who are most important to you and those relationships that you've made, the women that you meet and you go through a deployment with, or your kids are playing on the same team, those are really valuable relationships that you want to keep, and you should, slow down and appreciate them. Because people move all the time. Some of my dearest friends are all over this country. And those memories are the ones that really stick, like you said. And that's another great thing that I don't think people really talk about is we have somebody all over the country that is that person, right? That person at that time. And we could call on them at any time. You don't need to talk to them every day, but you're so bonded that you have those people, which is so special.
It really is, because when you're in the middle of a PCS and you're driving and you're like, okay, I need to stop in this city for this one night. All that takes is a simple phone call to that one person, who's living there, or even a Facebook post, and somebody's going to be living there, or somebody's going to be living not too far. And they have, room on their floor for you to sleep on an air mattress or in sleeping bags or something. Yeah. And, those are the best, because that's really what you boil it all down. This is what the military community is. It's those people that you can rely on. And like you said, you don't need to talk to them every day. It could have been months or even years before you talked to them. And they're right there. And it's like those relationships have never, it's like you talk every day, because there's never a time gap in those relationships.
It's really special. There's some really special things that happen behind the scenes that I think people forget to really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to ask you too about the foundation that you're a part of, and if you can share about that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a facilitator for the Station Foundation. We serve the SOF community, and we really take some time to step back and teach those mindfulness tools to service members or spouses or children. We have outstations throughout the country. Our headquarters is in Montana, in Bozeman, which is such a beautiful place if you've ever been. But it is really to take some of the pressure that, and I hate to use the word war, but I mean, a long time, lots of years of trauma that we just need to remind these folks to slow down and take care of themselves, and kind of put some of that in their back pocket and look for the new side, a different perspective, a new tool of stress management or whatever that may be. our headquarters is 20 acres of green space. So there's in-person programming that's offered. And then the outstations offer programming, like I said, in a smaller scale. So I'm super honored to do that work, and can see the difference that it makes just for those people that are moving. If we talk about the outstations and we talk about someone moving from one place to another, that is a scary thing. Going into a new community is scary. And to know that you can come to an event and meet like-minded people, and you don't have to say all the words, but they know what you're going through, that's really comforting. So to be able to go to an event and then not only learn a tool or learn breath work or learn the importance of yoga or art or whatever it may be, you're also making a connection, which is so much more important. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the soft community, my dad fell under special psychological operations. And so kind of a branch of it. And so having been an adult now and kind of seen the support on my side of it, on the child's perspective, it's really cool. And it's such a special community to be a part of, because everyone there is just, the soft community as a whole is some of the best people you'll ever meet. And I've loved every single interaction with everyone that I've met. And I don't know if I'm going to do it at one point, but I'm like, that's what that I want to do. That I want to be part of that community, because it's just some of the best people, some of the greatest connections you'll get. But it's also one of the hardest communities, in the military, because of the amount of stress that they go under, doing these high stress missions. And, like you said, being in war, that's the front lines there, and it's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. And from your perspective, from a child's perspective, some of these children don't know anything but that lifestyle. They don't know anything but wartime. Like these war babies that, I have them. They don't know any different except the coming and the going, and that pressure. And of course they're proud, and of course they've learned great things.
Right.
But there's also things that, birthdays have been missed, and the horrible side, right? Loss and trauma and missing things. But if you can flip it and you could find the good in it and take the time to make those relationships when they happen, and enjoy the time as a family when everyone's home, and really honor, each other's sacrifices, and learn how to take care of yourself mentally and physically, and use the tools that either the station or other foundations provide, you're really going to be okay. There is a great support system, and those friendships and all those, they're going to carry on with you for a long time. So,
yeah, I love that. And I think, you look at the military as a whole, but then you start to kind of section off, each branch, and then each section of each branch. When I started joining this whole process, they're like, oh, well, which branch are you looking at? I'm like, the Army. And they're like, no, which branch of the Army are you looking at? And I was like, oh, well, I guess I never thought of it that way, that the Army has their own branches too. But you start to kind of section off each branch of every branch. And it's really, really cool to see those little communities within the military and how supportive they are of each other, and how great those bonds and connections are. And you have all, shared trauma with everyone in that section, and you don't even have to talk about it, because you already know, and you already know exactly what the other person is going through and has gone through.
Right. Yeah. I think it just takes, back to that slowing down thing. I just think it takes the time to slow down. But as you're beginning your career or going to boot camp like you are, I think the best thing to do is to just follow your gut, right?
Yeah.
Just follow where it leads you, and what's going to make you happy, because that means you're going to be good at it. Like if you're happy, you're good at it. And that's these guys in these communities, they love what they do. And that's
Right.
why they're so good at what they do. And they're married to strong women who love what they do, right? And they
Yeah.
support each other. And at the end of the day, if there's any advice anyone can give you, I think that's it, is just to, follow your heart and love what you do and use the resources and the tools that people have and offer, and one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. That one day at a time thing is huge because you don't know what the next day is going to bring. And then the challenges and struggles and everything. But it's a family effort. For me, it's me, my sister, my parents. And then, for families, it's husband, wife, kids. Like it is really a family unit that you have to all come together to get this accomplished.
Absolutely. It definitely is a family unit. And I'm fortunate. Like I have a very close family and my kids are great. Like, of course, everyone says their kids are great, but my kids really are great. And
Yeah.
they've adapted really well to the lifestyle. But I think it's also because we do have those close knit relationships, and they do have, their school or their friends, and they don't have to say the words because they all kind of get it.
Right.
And kids are resilient.
Yeah.
Kids are so resilient. And if you lead them in the right way, they're going to thrive. And setting those examples and being really open about what's going on in the world, I think is huge. I don't think you can sugarcoat anything
No,
with kids. They're going to figure it out.
exactly. Especially with military kids, because we're always like, what's going on? What's going on? Like we can sense, when a deployment's coming up or when a TDY is coming up or something is happening, you can sense it. And then it's, I can only imagine as a parent, like it's a million questions that you're, trying to pick at.
Yeah. It's definitely, there's definitely always something, and there's always those questions. But I think as a military spouse and as a mom, you just be honest.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, and do the best you can
Right.
at any given day. And every day is going to be different.
Yeah.
Day it's going to be, all what you think is perfect, and the next day Murphy's Law will get you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Because I will never forget the one day that my dad was gone, prepping for his deployment, and it was like really bad thunderstorms, and I had never heard the tornado sirens going off, but they were going off. And we were all running down to our basement in Cleveland. And that night, our gazebo that we had in the backyard flipped over and was like hanging on the power lines. And, that's Murphy's Law right there,
Sure is.
to a T. And,
Sure
my
is.
mom's like, here I am calling up, guys in my dad's unit at like 2 a.m. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is just crazy. And you never know when those moments are going to come because they'll sneak up on you.
You never, ever know. Yeah. There's like a list, right? We just have a running list of all of the things, like every time this happened or that happened. And literally we could go on and on and talk about all the Murphy Law things.
Right.
But I think it's what makes us like be able to laugh. Like it's a kind of a running joke. Like, okay, here we go. What's it going to be? Is it going to be the house, car, the weather, a hurricane, a tornado, whatever, a dog? Like, is the dog going to do something? There's always that. Which one is it this time?
And then you start crossing your fingers when nothing goes wrong.
Yes. Yeah, I think you have to find the humor in it.
Yes.
Or it's going to be a lot harder.
Yes, that is so true. Well, the last thing I want to ask you, well, actually last two things, but one, where can listeners kind of get involved with the Station Foundation and get more information? And then two, what advice would you give to a military spouse?
Okay. So the first one, the Station Foundation, you could go to the Station Foundation website, and all of the programs and all of the offerings you will be able to find there. Or Instagram, Facebook, all the things, right? Everybody's everywhere. So just reach out. Everyone is there to help and guide and support for sure. And the best advice I would give, well, that's a hard one because there's a lot, but I think the first one is to love yourself. and
Yeah.
remember that you are worthy of all the things and you could do all the things. And the second one would be to sleep. Sleep when you can sleep. Right? Like a good night's sleep can make a huge difference. And I know it's 10 o'clock and the kids are finally in bed, and a mom wants that hour of quiet time.
Right.
But sleep so you can handle the next day. I think take care of yourself. You can't take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself. But always to remember that you're worthy of all the good things.
Yeah. Well, I love that so much. And thank you so much for all you do in helping other, military families. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Of course.
Thank you for listening to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, follow, and comment. Also, be sure to check out Instagram and Facebook at Grace of a Military Child and Life for more awesome content. For information on the podcast, Military Child Bigs and Littles, GoAMCL blog, or other resources, visit www.goamcl.org. You can also email me at Gracie, that's GRACIE @GOAMCL.org with any questions or comments. To be a guest on the podcast, you can schedule it at www.goamcl.org/schedule a podcast, all one word, or contact me via social media or email. Stay tuned for the next episode where another incredible story is shared.